I hear the clicking. Do you hear it? Tick, 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 tick. Eventually the alarm's going to ring, but till then, the clock on the wall says it's after 11, and you know what that means. It's time for your favorite show and mine, Countdown to Armageddon, and this is Publius, here to bring you the latest insights and updates and thoughts that cross my mind. Sometimes those thoughts are big, sometimes they're small, but the problem is I'm going to share them. Why? Because I have a First Amendment right that says I have right to share. Alright, let's talk to you today about rights. What do we want to talk about rights? Well, everybody says, they have a right to this, a right to that. What is a right? A right is something that you have in and of yourself. Let me explain this to you. I have a right to speech, free speech. I can say whatever I want, within certain exceptions. Do I need anything from you for me to exercise that right? The only thing I need from you is leave me alone. Now, I have a right to speech. Does that mean I have a right for you to listen to me? No. You have a right to walk away. I have a right to the freedom of press, meaning I can write whatever I please. Do I have a right to make you read it? No. You don't have to read it. See, there's a corollary between rights. I have a right to speak, you have a right to ignore me. That's the limitation built into the system. Do I have to agree with what you say? No. And I'm bringing this up because, number one, there's certain things that people are thinking are rights that are not rights. Do you have a right to health care? No. In order for you to have a right to health care, somebody must give you that. The doctor must see you. You cannot tell a doctor he has to see you regardless. Why? Because then you've taken away his rights. So let's take a look at certain rights today and how things are being used. First off, we have Antifa and all the rest of the left-wing nutjobs who want to stop people from having the right to speak certain ideas. They want to stop the fascists, as they say it. Well, without even realizing that they've stepped over into the grounds of fascism. Because the minute you start telling somebody you don't have a right to say that, you don't have a right to express your views, then you've entered into picking and choosing what rights are good, whose rights shall be valid. You've eliminated free speech. You only have some people who are allowed to speak. That's not free speech. That's a protected class. Do I agree with what everybody says? No. Do I agree with Antifa? Not in the least. They're a bunch of socialists. If you don't believe me, go read what they propose. Do I agree with BLM? No. Not at all. Why? Again, they're trained Marxists. Do a little reading. Does that mean I don't like black people? No, of course not. That's stupid. You can't equate one with the other. I think black people are the same as me. We're all people. The idea that, anybody would say a black person is worth less than a white person, to me is mind-boggling. But does a person have a right to say it? Yes. Does a black person have a right to say that white people are scum? Yes. Do I have to agree? No. Do I have to listen to them? No. I can walk away. If they're on the television, I can change the channel. If they're on the radio, I can switch it off. If they're protesting down the street, I can walk the other way. I don't have to listen. If you don't have to listen, then why are people complaining about other people's speech? Because they refuse to just walk away. They'd rather fight. They'd rather sit there and go, no, you can't say that. You're hurting my feelings. You don't have a right not to get your feelings hurt. Why? Because that requires me to conform to you. You have no right to make me conform to anything. We're seeing today a large number of conservatives who are being demonetized, deplatformed, basically punished because they have views that the mainstream doesn't like. They have views that big tech doesn't like. And big tech is kicking them off. Is that big tech's right? Sadly, yes. Facebook has every right to say who can and cannot be on their platform. I have never said Facebook should not be able to pick and choose. What I've said is that according to the way the system is set up, you have a platform and you have a publisher. Facebook is claiming they're a platform, meaning that they don't pick and choose, that they're openly allowing freedom of speech. Well, we know that's bullshit. Facebook doesn't believe in freedom of speech, because freedom of speech means that anybody can say what they want as long as it doesn't violate the law. It has no concern over people's feelings. Same thing with Twitter. Same thing with the whole counterculture. Why? Because freedom of speech means sometimes you're going to get your feelings hurt. Somebody might say something that you don't like. If you believe in freedom of speech, then you have to support the idea that someone's going to say something that other people don't like. If you can't support that, then you don't support freedom of speech. Don't pretend you do. Facebook pretends it does. It doesn't. What it does is, instead of being a platform, they've become a publisher. And I figure if you're going to be a publisher, be a publisher. Go for it. Pick and choose. It's your It's your property. Use it how you want. Let the world see. Yes, you're bigoted. You have a preference. You're biased. You don't like people that say certain things. Most people do. Most people are biased. We don't like people that say things we don't like. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Trust me, I don't like Nancy Pelosi. I don't like her for what she says. I don't like Joseph Sleepy Boy Biden. Why? Because I don't like what he says. Does that make me a hypocrite? Nope, because I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to say it. Now, I will say they ain't going to come on my show and say they're crap. Why? Because it's my show. Rush Limbaugh died recently, and the left went out, and their reaction to it was glee and joy that the man is dead. They have showed once again how low they can go. If Nancy Pelosi died today, would I be upset? No. Would I rejoice? No. It's someone dying. They died. People are going to be hurt. I'm not going to rejoice in somebody else's pain. To do so, in my book, makes you a very low-life human. Very low. The left keeps pushing to the lowest denominator there. Let's look at some of the other rights that the way people have been treating it. I was watching one of the First Amendment auditors the other day, and the policeman walked up and asked him, why are you filming the police station? The auditor said, because I want to. Guess what? That's legal. The Supreme Court said we have the right to film the police and our public officials on public property because we have the right. It's our job to see if our officials are doing what they're supposed to. We pay them. Do we need a reason to be watching them? No. It's our right to do so. If you do not exercise your rights, you will lose your rights. If you are sitting back going, well, I really shouldn't do that, they might get suspicious. You know, the idea that a police department is suspicious of people taking photographs of the police department, I think you need to get into a new line of work if that's the way you're going to do things. If all they're out there doing is filming the cars and the people in the building and people coming in and out, and you're getting paranoid, you need help. You need a new job. Here is an example of a right. All the photographer, all the auditor needs is to be left alone. Now, if that auditor needed somebody in the police department to go through and explain everything to him, it's no longer a right. Now you're getting into the area of privileges and customs. It's not a right. I have a right to speak. I don't have a right to be listened to. After the First Amendment, you have the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. Now, I like this right. This is one of my favorite rights because this one helps protect your other rights. If you don't have a right to defend yourself, then you have no rights. Your rights can be taken from you easily. Now, but there are catches in here. Number one, the government isn't going to buy my gun and give it to me. If I want a weapon, I've got to get my own weapon. Sadly, a lot of leftists think that that's not the way it works for every right. You hear them calling for common sense gun control. And then you start looking at what they want for gun control. They want you to register. They want you to pay for insurance. They want you to not be able to have this type of gun because, ooh, it's scary. They don't want you to have that because it's scary. They want, oh no, that one shoots too many bullets. That one does. They want to restrict your right and charge you more than what the weapon is worth in a license or a fee to have to exercise your right. Now, do you see them doing this for other rights? No. Do you see them saying, actually you see them doing almost the opposite when it comes to the right to abortion. They want free abortions for everybody. Does that mean they're going to pay for my gun? It's an applicable concept. You want a right to abortion that everybody pays for. I want a right to guns that everybody pays for. Do you want common sense gun control where you're restricting the rights to own a gun to people who have done nothing wrong? Then they should be able to accept the idea of restricted abortion rights. But you won't ever let them, they will never say that. They will never agree to that. They even want the right to abort a child that has been born, who's made it out of the womb alive. Well, we were trying to abort it, so it doesn't count. Alive is alive. But what other rights do we have? Now, we have a right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. The concept here is that the government cannot come into your house, go through your stuff without a warrant. And they should only be able to obtain that warrant on showing probable cause to a judge. Now, what we're seeing today, in today's society, is cops think they have a right to do things because they are suspicious. Not suspicious that you're going to commit a crime, but just because, well, we're not used to people doing things like that. Well, no, that doesn't count. Walking down the street, looking at cars, 2 auditors were stopped. They were searched, as in the police officer went into their pockets to remove their IDs. That's not legal. That's an unreasonable search and seizure. Now, a lot of these auditors out there who run into problems, I'm sorry, part of me says, if you're not going to sue and you're not going to challenge these people in court, you deserve it. Showing that we have a lot of tyrant cops. Okay, you've shown that our system is messed up, but you have not taken the steps to fix it. The cop pulls you over for walking down the sidewalk, and you don't do something about this, then it's no different than if you stayed home. You've got to protect your rights. You've got to stand up. You've got to go to the police station, file the complaint, and when they don't do anything about it, you file a lawsuit. Our police are out of control. Does that mean I agree with BLM on this? No. Because some of the examples BLM uses is stupid. You come at me with a knife, I'm going to shoot you. And I'm not going to shoot to wound. You're not going to try to stab me to wound. You're going to try to stab me to kill. I'm going to kill you. It's my right to defend myself. Police officers have the right to defend themselves too. If they didn't, who would want to be a cop? Do we need police? Sadly, yes. This whole idea of defund the police and replace it with social workers? Oh, good Lord, no. An entire department, another department of DHS people who want to stick their nose in and tell you how to live your life? No. We need better trained police. We need police that understand the law. Not their badge, the law. What does the law allow people to do? And if the law doesn't say something is wrong, then you should not be bothering people. A guy walking down the street ain't breaking the law. Why are you bothering him? Because you got a badge and you think you're important? You forgot the basis. Remember, police have no power that you don't have, or they shouldn't. That badge doesn't give them special powers. That badge doesn't mean that they're somehow better than the people they're supposed to be serving and defending. I mean, it says on the side of some of their cars, to protect and serve. Are they protecting and serving? No. They're protecting themselves and serving themselves. I know. There's that person out there going, but Publius, not all cops are bad. No, they're not. I'll agree. Some are good. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a cop who sat back and watched somebody break the law, or watched another cop violate somebody's rights, and you didn't do anything, then you're not a good cop. Your job is to protect and serve the person who your partner just beat the shit out of. And you're not protecting him and you're not serving him by letting your partner beat the shit out of him. There is a move on the left-wing side to punish people for their political views. They want to re-educate. I've actually heard some commentators go so far as to talk about using drones on American citizens. Why? Because, well, if this were in Afghanistan, we would do that. Because we don't like what they say. You want to sit back and say that anybody who says that this election was rigged should lose their right to have an opinion? No, that's not how it works. That's that First Amendment part again. Do you have to listen to them? No. Do you have a right to put them in jail because they feel that way? No. You just violated the First Amendment. And maybe if we all sat down and started looking at what our rights were and realized the difference between rights and wants, we'd be a little bit better off. I want health care. I want to be able to get medically checked out, fixed, have a doctor give me the medication that I need, and have my life better physically. Do I have a right to it? No. Do I have a right to access to it? Yes. I should have the right to access to it. There should not be any law that says that a certain group of people should not be allowed to have access to a doctor. Does that mean somebody else should pay for it? No. Should there be programs to help people pay for it? If you mean by mandate, by law, somebody should help other people pay for it? No. Do I think there'd be groups that would help pay for it anyway? Yes. There's always Christian groups that'll help people. If somebody's willing to help somebody else, I don't think they should be stopped. Should somebody be forced to take the help? No. There's a new video making the rounds of a man who's walking through the snow at night heading home. The cops come up, see him, and they want to talk to him. And he tries to walk away. The cops get their feelings hurt. We're just checking on you. We just want to make sure you're okay. Do you want us to give you a ride? No, I want to be left alone so I can go home. They end up arresting him. Yeah, they really helped him. We're losing our rights. And if the left has their way, we're going to lose our rights even faster. They're going to gut the Second Amendment. They're out to take out the First Amendment. They want to get rid of all the different viewpoints. And then where will we be? Well, then we'll be at the mercy of our government, which the left are hoping they're going to run and control. I always find it interesting when you see the Republicans and the Democrats fighting over power, because neither of them have a problem with somebody abusing power as long as it's their side. Don't believe me? Prior to the election, people were polled, and the number of people on the left who felt it was okay to rig an election as long as they could get Trump out of office was alarming. And you have that attitude today, where there are those who say, well, even if the election was rigged, it got rid of Trump, so it's okay. This whole idea that your side is so much better simply because it doesn't have so-and-so in it. You're misunderstanding things. Look, folks, if things don't change, there's going to be a war. And by that, I mean if things don't start changing for the better. If the left doesn't come down off their high horse and accept the fact that people can have different views and that they should be willing to compromise and work things out with the other side, then there's going to be no compromise. If they don't come off their high horse, the right is going to get fed up. People will get tired of being told what to believe, and they will eventually say, bite me. When you come to take somebody's guns who lives out in the middle of nowhere, or even lives in town, let's face it, by the time the cops get to the average crime scene, the crime is over. You don't believe me? Go look at your response times. All too often, it's 10 to 20 minutes. I can kill you in less than a minute. But yet, 10 minutes for the cops. That isn't going to help you. Being able to defend yourself is. It's time we start looking at our rights and saying, no more. We will not accept you violating our rights anymore. I have a right to the freedom of speech. I will say what I please as long as it doesn't break the law. And if you don't like it, too bad. I can write what I please. If you don't like it, too bad. I can do what I please as long as I'm not breaking the law. If you don't like it, too bad. And we need to start saying this not just to the person next door, but to anybody and everybody, including and especially to those police officers. You don't like me walking down the street? Too bad. Is it outside public street? Yes. Then leave me alone. It isn't illegal to not want to talk to the cops. Matter of fact, you're recommended don't talk to the cops. Any decent criminal lawyer will tell you, do not talk to the cops. They're not your friend. The day of the cop being your friend disappeared. Where did it disappear? War on drugs. Well, that was the final straw. I think the entire civil rights movement and the way the police responded to this is the reason, was the beginning of the end of the cops being the friend. When the government started trying to crack down on people's opinions and views and took hoses to citizens, okay, this is when cops started getting a bad rep. And as it continued, and then we finally get the war on drugs, when the cops are down, they don't see you as their boss. They see you as the enemy, which is why they're so paranoid. They did it, but we're suffering for it. Now I know there's a lot more involved. It's a lot more complex than just those few things. The point is, cops aren't your friend anymore. They should be. They're supposed to be there to serve and protect. But that's not what they finally end up doing. It's time we wake up and realize things have got to change. A lot of people are seeing the behavior of the police departments, and they're upset about this. And those of you that believe in law and order and justice cannot blindly sit there and support the police and say, but they have a tough job. Yeah, the tough job requires them to abide by the law. To not enforce feelings, but to enforce the law. And we need to start holding them accountable for doing so. If they do not enforce the law, they need to be held accountable. They break into somebody's house and shoot them, they need to be held accountable. If they take an unarmed person, put them in a chokehold and kill them, they need to be held accountable. Don't sit there and tell me, well, there were mitigating circumstances. The guy was stoned. That's why he ended up dying. No, he ended up dying because the cop put his knee on his throat. Whether that was the only factor or not is relevant. It's irrelevant. The cop should not have done that. Every cop that was around him needs to be charged as accessories. They saw him doing it. They refused to respond. They did not serve and protect. If we do not start getting our government accountable, our government is going to make us its servants. Or it's going to try. And then we go right back to what I was telling you. It's going to be a war. So, that's been today's message about Armageddon and how we're heading towards it. This is Publius. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Hit your like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button, because you never know when I'm going to post a new episode. Could be today, could be tomorrow, could be later on this week. The point is, hit that little subscribe button so that you'll be notified. Excuse me, the notify button, so that you'll be notified when I post. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you want to support the show, you can do so through this platform. I would greatly appreciate it. And you guys have a good week. Stand up for your rights. Make sure everybody around you knows that they should too.